Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to make a video about a timeline split that I'm picking up on within the collective energies of the feminine. So I'm going to be speaking about two different types or two different archetypes within the feminine in this video, and that is the witch, the archetype of the witch, and the archetype of the virgin. And so let's start with the archetype of the witch. This is of course an older archetype. It has existed here on Earth before, and it has also been quite prevalent. And I was almost going to say it has always been quite prevalent here on Earth. So that may be the case, that this is quite a common archetype actually to exist. And the witch was created, and this is just based on the downloads that I'm getting, by the way, from within myself, and so you may have a different perspective, and if you want to share about it, please feel free to do so in the comments. But what I'm seeing is that the witch was created because of man is what I'm hearing. But the witch was created because there was large groups of people, and typically this used to be men that were kind of modeling themselves after the image of God. You know, they saw themselves as kind of above the woman, that they were closer to this all-seeing light. And because then they thought like, oh, I know everything, you know, then I have the right to kind of judge others and judge other people. And so they took on this kind of false light. You know, they called themselves God, they called themselves light, but then they used those words to kind of judge energies or people that they didn't understand. And it's this judgment of what we don't understand that essentially created the witch, because the witch is the energy, the witch held the energy that were not understood by the people that called themselves God or kind of like men of the light of, or men of God. But the witch like intuitively knew that the energies that some of the energies that these men of God did not understand, these were energies that were essential for the evolution of Earth. You know, the reason that these men of God did not understand some of these energies was that they were new. You know, they were brand new, they had never existed here on Earth before, and so you're not able to understand energies like that through kind of like your mental capacities, you know, through your words and through your books. You have to intuitively connect with them. You know, imagine a young child, newborn child. You can't speak to it using words. You have to, you know, connect to your emotions and your sensual body to really understand its needs and its nature and its potential even. And so that's why these witches, they did not want to let that potential of Earth, or the potential of new Earth, be destroyed by these men of God, you know, these know-it-alls. And so they actually started to channel darker energies. They actually started to go back in time, to go into the root, and to channel energies that the men of God saw as dark, you know, because it's like they couldn't understand it. Their minds were too small to understand it. And they were just too uncomfortable by it. They couldn't stand within it either. They couldn't stand it. They were too small for it to stand inside such an energy. And so these witches started to channel that type of disgusting energy to essentially create space from these men of God, and to kind of like cast them out and chase them away from them. And so that's kind of the imprint of the witch, that that is still held within us today. It is a way of going dark and going into the dark to essentially protect the potential of new earth, of the future, protect the children of the future. But then this is where that timeline split comes in now, because now there is a choice point. It's almost as if we can go two ways. We can continue to channel the witch, but what I'm picking up on is that now is when that archetype of the witch is going to start to darken, because there is another archetype within the feminine that is emerging, and this is the virgin. And so let's just speak quickly about the virgin as well. The virgin is an energy that she is a virgin because of the witch. Let's just say, first of all, the virgin would not be able to emerge here on earth if it was not for the work of the witch that was kind of able to chase away the man of God. Because the virgin would not be a virgin if the man of God was close, because then he would have planted his seeds into her. You know what I mean? She wouldn't have been able to protect herself, because the virgin doesn't channel the dark. The virgin channels the light. The virgin channels like the highest good of all, and that makes the virgin like sweet, soft, fluid, kind, very desirable. And so such an energy can actually not protect herself when there are like know-it-alls around, when there are these forces around that just see it as their right to take whatever it is that they want, because it's like they are the hand of God. How can you deal with such energies? You really can't. The only way you can deal with them is by like being disgusting and vile to chase these energies away, basically. And so that's what's happening now, and you may have gone through something similar within yourself, that you may have kind of channeled the energy of the witch a little bit to create space for yourself and separation for yourself from people in society that think that they know it all. They may not even be religious or see themselves as like the hand of God or nothing like that, but they just have this flair, they just come with this flavor of my way is the only way, and what I know is really all there is to know. Like there isn't so much outside of my books and my systems and known society. They're very focused on the material world or their inner mental world, what they already know. And so if you have been dealing with people like that, you might have found it very difficult to have a space of your own, because when you're dealing with people like that, they will constantly want to inject you with their seeds, their ideas, their ways of doing things. And so you may have felt like, I don't have any space for myself. And so that's why some of you may have stepped into this witch energy of essentially becoming that which this know-it-all cannot stand. And so that could have played itself out in many ways. It doesn't even have to be that bad in a sense. You could have just become a person that you don't bow down to money anymore, for instance. A lot of these know-it-all, that is something that they fear, like to the max, you know what I mean? So it could have been something like that, just walking outside the norm of society and doing things that people that follow these know-it-all paths would have a very hard time understanding. And so I feel like that has given, if this resonates, that may have given you some kind of protection. It's almost like it create this womb around you where people just, they it's almost like they became a little bit afraid of you, because it's like they just didn't want this, for instance, this energy of being poor then to kind of infect them and get onto them. And so they're like, ee, like, I don't want to get too close either. So that's something that I see, but it feels like this leg of the journey is coming to an end now. And it's happening because it's almost like the divine masculine is returning. And I don't know exactly why the divine masculine is returning. I'm hearing that it's something that we have built collectively, that we have built enough light within like our collective being so that we can actually hold that energy now. We can actually act from a place of alignment and truth now. And I'm hearing for the first time in many, many years. But what I see happening when the divine masculine returning is that if you have been in the witch state and you've essentially been taking on energies from past lives, darker energies. So maybe you've been feeling poor, maybe you have become poor, maybe you have let go of your work, maybe you have, it's almost like you've made certain sacrifices to be allowed to be separate from the know-it-alls. And in a way, this has, you needed it to protect yourself, to give yourself time and space to grow your light. But at the same time, of course, it has been challenging, because it means that you've had to go without, I feel, for a lot of you. You've had to go without a lot of things. But now it feels like I said, this time is starting to transition into this new experience now, where we have the choice whether we want to move into the virgin archetype and start to channel, the divine masculine, which is humble truth, basically. It's continuing to be humble, so not go back to the know-it-all archetype of like, I am God type, that I am the light. I guess it's the difference that, if you're Christian, you would say that the divine masculine, the new light, is kind of like the energy of Jesus, and the old light is kind of the energy of the God that has become corrupted in the matrix because of the limited understanding of man. So this is something that I very much feel right now, that it's like, because people have been using the word God, the energy of God, as a way of judging other people, as a way of like putting themselves above other people. It's almost like the energy of God in the matrix has become corrupted. If we call out to God, it's not the highest good of all anymore. God has become this very judgmental force that is creating separation between us and our own shadow. And so, again, this is just based on my perspective, but this new light, it kind of would then represents more like the energy of Jesus. And that's also why I think we get that archetype of the virgin, that the virgin, again, she comes from being a witch, or even a whore, a prostitute, something dark, something so disgusting to the know-it-alls, that they wouldn't even be able to come close to that type of energy. But then when this dark energy starts choosing to merge again with this truth, and I see this as a blue light, it's kind of like the throat chakra, the highest good of all, when you start choosing restoration instead of revenge, when you start choosing to surrender people, the know-it-alls, for instance, to their higher self, instead of you feeling like you have to change them, that's when you start to pull in, I feel, this new innocence that transforms you into this virgin archetype, which is a very protected archetype. It's protected by that energy of the highest good of all. And so to remain in this energy of the virgin, we also have to be pure. We cannot ever channel that know-it-all, like the old, the corrupted light, the people that use God to stand above others. We cannot come from that place anymore to be in the virgin light. You know, we have to let go of that old authority, that old type of light, to be protected, like in the virgin state. That's what I'm feeling. And so that's kind of a choice point I feel that's coming up now within the collective feminine. It's almost like you get the choice now. Do you want to remain in the witch archetype, or do you want to move on to the virgin? And so what I see that may start happening now within the witch archetype is that when this choice point comes up, a lot of people that are very kind of humble, like they're very innocent by nature, they will start to move into the virgin archetype because that just feels like home to them. I'm hearing it's what they came for. They want to live that innocent life, where it's like heaven on earth, where we can all get what we want because we all care. Like we all care about life, about each other, about what's best for everyone. And so we don't have to actually be hard with each other because we all listen, we all tune in, you know. They want that type of experience. So when they start to leave the witch archetype, that energy, that archetype is going to start to become denser. It's almost like it's going to go through a falling, dunk, become denser and darker. And when that happens, and we still channel that type of archetype, we lose just a lot of light. And so we lose a lot of awareness of ourselves. And this can be dangerous because it can mean that we can get lost in past timelines. You know, it's almost like we are no longer able to not play out our dark desires. They become so addictive to us. That's always the case with like darker energies, past lives energies. It's like they're addictive. That's what the Christians would call like Satan or demonic, but it's more foundational feelings. You know, these are neurons, connections in our brain that were probably created at a earlier age compared to, you know, the more light ones that allows us to understand everything and see the big picture and be more detached. You know, these darker feelings, the demonic feelings, it's more like animal in nature. So it's like it was created at an earlier time. But it's also difficult to get out of because it's like you get stuck in that lower nature, kind of just becoming more and more hungry in a sense. And so that's something that I see happening now, that there is this shift. The archetype of the witch may start to darken, and that may also be why we may see people, like, especially if, you know, today it's quite trendy to create a lot of identity around your spiritual practice, for instance, and that can be beneficial if you want to create community, if you want to like intermingle with other people and kind of be part of a mass, then that of course is very beneficial. But the negative side to this is, of course, that when these changes happens, it means that you really have to go through this full-on ego death to be able to flow with evolution. And so it can be demanding. You know, it will cost you. It will cost you. You have to let go of things. You might have to make less money for a while. You know, you might have to release things that essentially are no longer serving you. And not everyone are gonna be willing to do that straight away. You know what I mean? But then I feel like there is also this group of people that you don't create identity out of your spirituality, because it's like you're not looking to be part of a mass. You're more individualistic in your experience. You're more comfortable on your own. And so for you, that this shift is going to be easy, because it's like you're just going to feel it, and then you're ready to move on to that path if it calls you. And the changes will be more internal. You don't have to, like I'm hearing, toss around your life to go with this new flow. And another thing that may be a little bit challenging for us as well is that, you know, when we are in the witch archetype, it's almost like our identity or our beingness, us being a witch, is only possible because of the know-it-alls, because of the people that are like so rigid in their mind. And so our existence is actually an existence of codependency. You know, it's like we were created because of someone else. It is that story of God, you know, the Old Testament. We're definitely mimicking that story when we are in the witch energy. And that's also where the story of Lilith comes in. You know, it's like Adam's first wife, the demon. and that's the path that may start emerging a little bit now, is that as we're moving towards the end of this cycle, it's like the darker version of the witch is gonna start to become more available to the collective. And this is also what is going to break down these know-it-alls, you know. It is these people that they may not even label themselves as witches, but they are channeling past life energy. They are actually starting to want to break down more and more the know-it-alls and the people that control the narratives, because it's like they will almost feel like it is their mission, you know, that this is what they came for. So that is a little bit of a caution to those of you watching here, that if you don't want to go down into the dark like that, if you don't want to start to channel these very dark death energies, because, you know, of course, when we channel death, we become more and more like it. We can't really escape that. So channeling these types of dark death energies that are very addictive in nature and takes away your light, it can quickly take you down a downward spiral that can last for years and years. So it's just, now is the time, I feel, to be aware and to observe the flow of energies within yourself, around yourself, and really make conscious choices. There's a lot of opportunity for us now. We can really live the life of our dreams. Question just is, what is it that we're dreaming of? You know, what is it that is really calling us? Yeah, so I think I'm gonna end this video here. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye.